All right, welcome back. Episode 12. We're hitting our stride in double figures, Eric. I don't think there's a. I think we're here to stay.
Yeah. I guess our frequency have been a bit sort of back and forth, up and down. Life is happening. There's been Easter holidays, and yeah,
Other personal issues, yeah.
yes,
But I think it's okay. I think our cadence is still like around once every week or two,
yeah,
three. You know, it's probably coming up to the summer. It might be a bit more sporadic again, but let's just keep plowing along. Yeah.
yep,
Yeah. So we were talking a bit about what would we talk about? Generating forms from parameters. If you
yeah.
just finished watching episode 11, you'll know more about this than we do. So we have to refresh our memories about what the hell we were talking about.
Yeah. So this is I want to go back to one of my favorite podcasts, which is Software Unscripted,
Right. Right.
right?
He hasn't
With
done one
Rick.
for a little while, actually.
No, I think he's been super busy getting Rock out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Richard Feldman, isn't it?
Yes, and he's a sort of friend of the Clojure community. He had a
Oh yeah.
talk at Clojure Tray, and he's had quite a few Clojurists on his podcast.
Eric Normand, I
Um,
think, was on it, wasn't he?
Eric Norman, I
Yeah.
believe that Zach Tellman was on, might
Okay.
have been,
Maybe. I think you're
and
maybe.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways. In one of the episodes, they talk about the allure of creating a form builder.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And the thing is, like, if you sort of your thought is how hard can this be, right?
Right. 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 Right.
There's a list of inputs, and then there's a submit button, and that's basically it. But then there's like what some of these fields are required. Maybe there is some sort of dependency between the fields, and I guess this is more sort of for if you do like the form builder on the front end where you can do all kinds of weird stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then one of them is a calendar, like a date input field where you have a calendar, and then suddenly there's some ranges on the things that you're allowed to
Mm-hmm.
input. And
Mm-hmm.
basically, what ends up happening is that the form builder becomes so complex that you're often better off just building the bespoke forms that you need.
Yeah, sure, sure. I think it's one of these things where there's probably one of these things where some of the like boring forms that we've got now would actually be better being generated because
Yes.
we can conform the kind of stuff we want. If you have like very complicated input forms and excuse me, maybe it's one of these days we'll have that, then there's a probably, again, there's a kind of Occam's razor or whatever, or it's probably not, that's not the right thing. So that's the simplest thing that will work. But that's where there's probably, like you say, at a certain point, it becomes like, this is too hard. We're building this entire engine, a form building engine,
Yes.
for four forms. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But I think what we were talking about, which is kind of it's different, which is, wouldn't it be nice if we had a form that had the right fields on it that we want? And we've already got that in the data, and it looks very similar to the form we have. So we could generate that instead, and that would get rid of some code
Yep.
at a very low cost, I think.
Yeah.
And then, but I think you're right. You need to be constantly reviewing these things and not kind of over investing in them. So I
Yeah.
think that's the balance to maintain here, is that
Because if you look at it, right, we have
mm,
this reset token form, right?
yeah.
Um, that is like the most trivial thing. You send in there's a command thing and then
Mm.
there's two inputs of text each. And then there's a submit button. Right?
Yeah.
This is fairly trivial. You can see the data structure for this without thinking too hard.
Yeah, by the way, why does it say sign up on the reset token? It's kind of weird.
Yeah, it is. Copy paste. But then if and the sign up
Well, can we just
form,
correct it right now while we're here,
we can do
just
that
so that we don't forget it?
like this.
Yeah.
Um, and the sign up form is very like it's very similar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But I believe that we have an upload. This is an upload form where suddenly um, it's not just a post with an action, but it's also you have this encoding type, right? So now you're gonna have to like there's another thing that you need to add to it,
Hmm.
which is like only used for this one case. But
But again,
definitely.
maybe there's a sort of balance here in terms of being able to generate the input kind of fields, um, and then have. I think one of the things that I kind of like is because it's data. Like this is all
Yep.
data anyway.
Yep.
That you should be able to say, okay, I want a form that looks a bit like this, and then I want to be able to merge or insert or conj or whatever some
Yep.
data in a particular place.
Yep.
Um, that
Yeah,
doesn't
I mean,
seem too
you could
onerous, you know.
like if you took this one and you did something and you did something like so I just copied that function, right?
It's a var, but
And let's
okay.
just
Yeah.
say you could do something like this, right? And then the only sort of um, this kind of makes sense. And
I
then
don't know
there
what you're
is
doing or what you're talking about, to be honest.
no, so I'm like, let's say that you wanted to uh, create a data language to describe this form that we just that we have up here,
Okay. Yeah. You
right?
just
This
copied
is
and
a
pasted
form
it so
which
far,
contains
so
hiccup.
I don't know what you're arriving at. I'll let you cook a bit longer, but okay, go on.
Yeah, so this is hiccup, right?
Yes.
And you could argue that for the form definition, like basically we want to say that we want to make a form with this action command and this encoding.
Right.
And we want to have two inputs or one input which is hidden. And then we have a list of other inputs
Hmm.
which should be displayed with BRs around them.
Hmm.
So I'm thinking like let's just copy all that information
Okay.
and then try to write this without hiccup so that you can generate the hiccup from it.
All right.
So for example, just bear with me for a second here. Um, you could say something like inputs is um, raise this one, and then we slurp that in, and we add a let's just add a title on it, or that's a label. Not that I've been coding a lot of
So you want inputs and you want a hidden input. Is that the idea?
yeah, I'm just
Okay.
riffing a little bit here
Yeah.
now.
That's good. Yeah.
Um, Label email, and then we've done that one, and then you take away that one, and let's just say that we say submit. And we can take that one away. And then hidden, that is there. That to me is like what we need to be able to generate this form,
Okay. Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
I don't think you can get away with, and we don't need to have, let's just say that all our forms are posts.
Yeah. We can have some defaults. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think also having a capitalized title, a capitalized label makes sense. So I think you can throw the labels away. You just use the name as capitalize the name.
Yeah, but no, because we're gonna want to have let's just be you're gonna have like an input like that, and you're gonna want to have the label to be first name or something. So I'd prefer actually to like separate those two things.
Fair enough. Okay.
What was this?
I think it was
There we go.
email.
And then what we could do now,
Maybe type text as well is a bit redundant.
we could have that as the default.
Could be the default. Yeah.
Yeah. Because we would want to actually,
Like all of these things, like
um,
the post thing, you could overwrite it. Like the type thing, you could overwrite it.
yeah,
Like you've got a
um,
file thing there, for example. That's fine.
yeah,
You know,
and this one should be probably have a label.
I don't think it needs a label.
Let's just see, or let's not, because the email, I think that you might have a input type which is email, but I'm not sure.
It would be nice if you could.
Yeah, don't remember if you do.
Maybe
But
we
what
could
would
have a quick look at that, what the various input types are. There is an input. There is an email input type. Nice.
yeah.
That's nice, actually. It's a phone number field as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff like this that is actually
That's nice.
um
HTML5 has come a long way. Okay, cool.
yeah.
Yeah. We should call it type email. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, fine.
So
all these kind of things just save us a lot of effort, don't they? You know, in terms of validations
Because
and
then you
stuff.
get some sort of validation on this stuff, and
Yeah, it's built in. It's nice.
yeah.
Use what's there. Yeah.
So we want to return a form, um, which basically has the form in it. Like I'm looking at my form definition here, and I'm looking at uh, this is the hiccup that we would want.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm like just doing something to get this, right?
Yeah. So you have to like ASOC method post or some shit, you know, on that one.
Yeah, let's get to that in a second. So we have the form and we have this stuff, and then we have
The inputs.
the inputs, and we would then that's inside of this one.
Actually, there are two types of inputs here because there are sort of
Yep,
there are inputs that
map.
are on the. Maybe your inputs need to be changed a bit here because you need like the file input is different from the email input. You know.
Somewhat. Yeah, let's have a look at that.
No, no, it's already correct because you don't have it as part of the form. Like you have this BR form. You know.
Yeah.
Well,
So
we'll look at it. Okay, we'll have a look at it. Fine. Fair
yeah,
enough. Yeah.
fair enough. Now now I'm struggling a little bit because if we were to do like hiddens, then we would get an extra list around here, which I don't know will work or would work or not.
You can map cat these things.
Yeah, but you still end up with a list here, right? And we're not interested really in so because you have this list. Hang on. So we have the form, that's the first thing.
Oh, I see. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Let's even do, yep. Uh, and then that should be input, and then the, and this is a hidden,
Mm-hmm.
and then this is a hidden, and then, right?
You really like to keep everything on one line, don't
Yeah, I'm just typing it out
you?
now.
Okay.
And this is gonna be like, because now we're gonna have to do an into again, right? For the other ones, for the so basically, let's do even though Stuart Sierra says we shouldn't.
I think there's what should we say? There's uh, there's probably a few scaling issues on this side.
Yep. So let's it. So we get ourselves a form um, with an action and an ink type. And we should, as you said, we should associate the post into the form.
Yeah.
Um, method, yeah.
One of the things that's a bit annoying is that Concat gives you back a list, but this thing wants a vector, so that's kind of bullshit, but there we are.
Now it's not a list anymore.
It's starting to take shape. That's good.
Yeah. So that's that one. And then we have to take map an input, and we're taking the inputs, right?
Uh-huh.
And what we're saying then is that we have input, and then we say, oh, this is
Maybe you
boring.
can reduce the size of this thing at the bottom because it's like
Ah,
taking
sorry.
up a lot of space. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have the keys name label type.
Mm-hmm. Feels like
Right?
that's just a map that you have that doesn't need to be destructured.
Yeah, no, but we need to if we didn't have the type, we should add the type. So this was the quickest way for me to do that, but
Sure. Okay.
like rather than doing a if test if type was there or not.
Well, you could have like type or text in the destructuring.
Ooh. Uh, I this is
That's
that
right.
it?
Yeah. You
Yeah,
have to put a colon keys though in front of
yeah,
the thing.
I do agree. Ah, but we don't want to have the label here. This is where it becomes interesting. Because what we should also do in our to do this properly, um, and yes, I see some shortcuts here.
I didn't say anything, because I know you'll get upset if I point it out. Yeah, very touchy dude.
Like this, and then we would, and now I'm gonna have to think a little because we add a label for, I believe it is, ID. Oh, could you,
Label 4, I've never heard of it.
well, fi figure it out in your browser.
Okay.
So this is, oh yes, thank you. Yeah, so you see you have label and then for, and then probably this is an attribute. There you go. because then those two are then those two are linked, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then what more do we have here? Let's and then lastly we have the um how did we define the
By the way,
submit?
isn't label kind of dead on the file? So this could be a very nice use of cond arrow.
What? Yeah, let's see if this works first and then see where
Sure.
we get
Yeah.
to. Yeah. Then we have the submit, and that should end up as um, this, and type is this, and the value is the value of the submit thing.
Value submit. Okay.
And that one needs to be inside a vector. Yep.
Why is label for ID label always nil?
Um, because
Oh, we haven't got ID in the thing. No, we have. Ah,
it
okay.
doesn't.
It didn't reevaluate. Okay.
No. We don't have, that's weird. On the input type file, the label is, yeah. Okay, so,
It wasn't in our thing. The label.
interesting. But we shouldn't have this one anymore.
You're allowed to have a label anyway.
Maybe you are. What happened now? I, something is, yes. What am I not seeing here?
It's probably not what you want, is it?
No. Let's skip the label thingy for now. Um, it would be interesting to see this. Don't you think?
Well, interesting to see. Oh, yeah, okay. Yes.
So this is how it looks today,
Yeah,
right?
beautiful.
And what's interesting is that this is just a def. So it actually doesn't look all that bad.
No, it looks okay. We haven't got the BRs and stuff like that in place, but
Uh,
that's otherwise. And yeah, obviously we haven't got the labels there either. But
what's the Do you remember how interleave works?
No, but
No, it's
usually
not.
if you hover over it, you get a Java doc. No.
Yeah. No, we don't want interleave. We want interpose.
Interpose.
Yeah. Yes. Um, hmm.
Yeah, just interpose br. Yeah, there we go.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, not
And
bad.
then we do need to have a this.
Hmm.
And I believe method post. This looks quite right.
Yeah, I mean, it's not exactly user friendly in the sense that they don't know
We're
which
still
fields to
sort of
input
missing the
stuff.
labels, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
But that Condaro was made for that. So
yeah, but because if we just put the label here,
hmm
because the thing is that for this doesn't, mm, we still don't get the label out here, which is because we should have gotten.
but that's because of the way the function works. Function returns the last thing.
Ew, you be quiet. Ah, but now we have the problem with okay. So map that work? No, it can't work. Because we got too much oh, almost.
Very close. Yeah.
Very close. We just need to interpose with one of those.
hmm
Oops.
Nice. And if you pick the file, it does actually work. Just to prove the case. Yeah.
Yes,
Cool.
it
Okay.
does.
Nice. Good. Well, this is
Yep.
it's very promising. Yeah.
Yep. And can I like oh it now auto suggests my emails,
That's nice.
but there's no validation on it.
I bet there is.
Yeah. Um now so what we could do now is def right, so now we have a working form. And then we have equals working form. That's true. The reason why I did this was just that now we can do some, this is my stupid test, if you will. Because now we can clean these things up a little bit. You had some idea about cleaning up this thing here.
Well, just that if label is not there, then you don't want to output that thing.
Yeah.
And the thing with when is that it tends to produce nils, so you don't want
Yes.
that.
No.
So that's what cond arrow is made for.
Okay. So guide me here.
Okay, so the general thing about cond arrow is you say cond arrow some data structure. So
Yeah.
and then you have a condition which is whether a label exists, for
Okay.
example.
So we have this is our data structure, right?
Right. So you can say cond arrow that data structure.
Yep.
Yeah. And then you can have a condition which is label.
Yep.
And then the action is okay, given that this is true, do
Yep.
something. So
Yeah.
you
And then
can,
we
for
get
instance,
that data
that's the
structure
first
as the first
argument.
thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
So we might want
we
to cons or conj. I don't think it really matters whether you conj or cons, to be honest.
well, depends on if we want it on the first or the last of these two.
Yeah, I mean, does it really matter for the HTML is what I mean.
I think it does because I think it renders the label on the other side. If
Oh, I see. Okay, okay.
yeah.
Well, in that case, we cons it then.
So vec of cons.
Won't it
And then we
automatically
get
come back as a vector when you do it that?
no. Oh, let's see.
Conj does. I can't remember whether it does for cons.
I would sort of imagine that cons give you a list back, but then we cons this onto it.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's what did we get now?
We have to put it in a vector again.
Yes. It's do we? Because
Hmm. Maybe it doesn't need to be. One of these brackets is wrong. So
hey,
one of these brackets is wrong. You could get rid of the brackets because the nice thing about cond arrow is that it has a sort of like an option where you can just say if something is true, like a keyword, like always, for example,
yeah,
then you can do something afterwards. And the thing about cond arrow is that unlike most cons, it doesn't exit early.
yeah,
So it will always do what you want. It will always do the last whatever you say there. It will always do.
yeah. Let's see what happens. So I'm actually quite a bit confused now. I'm totally reliant on you to fix this.
What's going wrong?
Right now we're getting the input. So here's the label, which doesn't have a vector around it.
Okay, well, we can just, I mean, we're kind of playing around with it. You can put another vector around it and see if that brings joy.
Now it is good, but the label is on the other side.
That's a bit weird, isn't
So
it?
now it looks like this. And this one is Borkin because the input file, which doesn't have
Then
um,
it's not got the double brackets, yeah. Hmm. So maybe it does need a double bracket on the inside.
no, this feels like um, oh,
But I think you were close there with the true vec, you know, it would be quite nice.
nope, not at all.
I think what's a
This
bit
is
confusing is where the cons comes in. Yeah. That will get us back to the good file, I think.
nope. Okay, so let's do what we should have done some time ago. Mm, right, that looks weird. That's definitely not what we want.
That is true.
So now we have a list, but we're missing this looks better, I would argue.
Yes, I would agree.
Um,
But it's still still the wrong way around, isn't it?
yeah, and
So we don't, I mean, you know,
because what am I not getting here? We're
actually, it's nice.
Here we go. So
You can
now,
probably put the input in double brackets
yeah,
and the other one outside of it, just with one bracket. Yeah,
label for
this looks
uh,
pretty good, I'd say.
label for token, but I think they should be in,
Ah, it looks like input is inside of a label vector.
yeah, which is not correct.
No, so maybe concat is better. The other thing you can do, by the way, is you can actually just have a function, because one of the problems here is that it's passing you as the first argument, but you want it as the last one. So you can just write fne. You can just write a function that takes e, and then you can do it how the fuck you want.
Was that?
This label, this on line 55, you don't have to
Yeah.
write like concat thing. You can write a function. You can just write fn, x or whatever, and then you can do your concat, and you can organize things however you want it.
Yeah, but then you need to, uh,
Cond arrow passes the last, and cond arrow
yeah,
arrow
yeah, I get
passes the
that.
first. But
But then if you write like if you do like this, then you need to invoke that. You need to do
no,
something
you
like
don't.
this,
No,
right?
no, it does it.
Hey, does it?
It passes. It's expecting to be passed a function, so it's invoking concat, isn't it? Or it's invoking whatever. So
Yeah.
you're just making an anonymous function here, and it can invoke that, and it will pass the input as the first argument.
So you're saying something like this.
Yes.
And then this one should probably just have like that.
Well, the thing about that is that
That's what I was wondering. Like it just returns a function
oh shit. Okay.
because I think you need to invoke
Okay.
this with X and there.
Right.
That's what we want.
Yeah. The only thing about that is that if you haven't got the label, then you don't get the wrapping.
No, because if we remove this one, we get, but that's what we're after a part, except that we don't get the vector on it.
Mm-hmm.
Man,
This is so
this should
annoying.
be so simple.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're obviously bad
We're
closure programmers.
hopeless. What we're
Yeah.
going to need to return here is and then we need to return this. And then we need to stick that in a vector.
Filter V is also available.
Oh, that's true. And I'm sure that we should use sum here, right? Or is it some question mark? It's some question mark.
Yeah.
So that gives us this one, which is good.
Uh-huh.
And then that gives us that one, which is also good.
All right, cool.
Yep.
Well done. Nice, nice little trick there with the filter.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna hate it, but that's fine.
No, I
It
like it.
feels like one should have been able to do this. And then we have this one, and we look at this one, and now it's correct.
Yay!
Yay!
I think we should probably stop there.
I think we should definitely stop there.
Yeah.
Um, and so now we can remove this and basically
So are we
this
coming back
is
around to the idea that writing these kind of functions is a bad idea, or are we still
well,
we're still okay with it? I think it's not bad.
let me just do just trying to no, let's
What,
skip
right?
that. I wanted to sort of look at our
If you can drop the bottom part, which is empty, would be good.
yeah, sorry. It would be interesting to if we had kept I just deleted the original form definition.
Git is your friend, Eric, surely.
I know. Um, so this is our form definition, and then um, what?
It thinks it's still there. Interesting.
It is. Oh yeah, we have it here.
Oh yeah, you copied and pasted it downwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like this one is
So how much did you save is the
28.
question, I suppose. Yeah.
Hey?
How much did you save is the question. Yeah.
Yeah, like now we're gonna have to learn ourselves a bespoke data language, right? We're gonna have to learn how to write these form definitions. And you're gonna forget that every once in a while, and then you're gonna have to try to read this stuff and remember it, like understand what this does.
Hmm.
The one thing you could argue is that now we get a somewhat consistent form layout, but it's also like this code here is quite what I would say tight insofar that it's not super trivial to, as we've seen, to do tweaks to it.
Yeah, yeah. It's a bit knotty. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, given where we are, and the thing that we want to do is keep it simple and sort of focus a little bit on moving forward. I'm
Yeah, I
tempted
think
to
this
agree
this
with
is a
you that we
step in
throw it
the sort
away.
of wrongish
Yeah,
direction.
yeah, I agree. I agree. Well, okay, it was an experiment,
Yeah,
and this one, I
you
think
could
we,
look
we throw it
at.
away. Yeah.
Do you remember Chris Ford had a bunch of talks on various conges and stuff, and he talked about Kolmogorov or something. Kolmogorov encodings or something.
Maybe. I don't know. Don't
But
remember.
there's something about the difference between the thing and the encoded thing, which tells you something about something.
it's definitely pretty abstract at the moment.
Yeah, but I mean the thing is that if you look at this as a compression of this,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Then you could argue that our compression algorithm isn't all that good.
We've added things to it, in fairness.
In
We've added the
fairness,
ID part, but other than that, yeah, it wouldn't be that. It's not that. There's probably, I don't know, 10%,
yeah,
but it's not a very, you don't want that. You want like 90%. You want it the other way around, don't you?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But it also sort of speaks to Hiccup, right?
Yeah, yeah.
In a sense that it's fairly compact and nice to work with.
Yeah, it's already compact enough. And if we could probably make some small tweaks to Hiccup to, to have a little for loop or something if we really wanted to. And that would still be quite readable,
Yeah.
in
So,
places where it was necessary. I mean, this this one in the middle, this div title, text title, this seems quite a lot of bullshit, but so you could for loop that one, but it's probably not worth it.
yeah.
You know?
What would be nice though, in all fairness of this, is to do from what we learned today.
Mm-hmm. And also the label stuff that you were talking about as well. I think that is now sort of necessary.
And then we put a BR. Actually, we could have used the the output from our generator to do this for us, but like it feels almost it's almost like a little function to generate this stuff would have been nice.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. A little
Yeah,
for loop around that maybe could be good
yeah,
because there's a lot of repetition there.
yeah.
So maybe that's something we could just quickly do before we sign off. So just to kind of like make our life a bit easier. Yeah.
Yeah, what I'm curious, the thing that is a little bit annoying, if you will, with Hiccup is that what am I trying to say here? Like it would have been really nice if we could do it like that, but I'm not sure if Hiccup allows for that. Because in essence, you want to have a function that returns you these two. And you would want to sort of splice it into its surrounding,
Hmm.
which is kind of hard. Let's just do like this and just see that we are on the same thing. And because I'm such a Hiccup noob, let's see what happens if we do. Haha, lol. That does not work. No. Yeah. No, so I'm actually not sure how to do that.
Well, I think we
Should
we
we
just
just
did it.
remove this stuff?
We just did it in our thing, didn't we?
Yeah, but
So we
then
can take
what?
we can take a simplification of what we did because, like for example, this cond thing was too complicated, and maybe some of the vectors, and you know, I think you could simplify it just to do an into essentially for this little thing. It would be quite nice, you know.
Yeah, but let's do that next time or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But then I will just delete this
yeah,
and this
yeah.
and this.
Yeah, well, that was a little, little experiment that didn't work out, and I think we're
Yeah.
here for those. I mean, that's okay.
Yeah.
I
And um, then I guess we can do like that.
we should maybe have a little like generate small amounts of hiccup from
Yeah.
parameters, something like that, or reduce amounts of like boilerplate. Yeah,
Yeah. Something like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, good. Yeah, cool.
Good, good.
We're back to our safe space.
Yes, we are.
Right. Well, so it's interesting whether we bother to do it next time. It will be, we might drop the
Yep.
priority on that one. Maybe just put
Yep.
it down the list because it would be nice to test the other thing, and then maybe move on to our next feature.
Yeah. Because I like the older I get, it seems like the better I am at typing, and I actually prefer stuff like this that is super easy to read, and like it's when you come back and you want to figure out what this stuff is, this is quite okay.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, for me, I feel like this is a lot of noise on the line. To be honest, like
Mm,
we want a field that has a title, an email, and a token, and that just
yep,
seems like a lot of shit to me to
yep,
wade through mentally.
yep,
Yeah, um, and and maybe it's just maybe it's maybe Hiccup already has something to compress this a little bit. I don't know enough about
yep,
how it does forms, but I think Hiccup itself is relatively simple as well. You know,
yep, yep.
so maybe it doesn't have anything to help us here. But that does look like, yeah, kind of like a lot of noise to me for what is essentially just a
Yeah, and it's kind of
an entry
annoying because
field.
I mean, Clojure is a language for manipulating data, and we should be able to manipulate some of it.
Yeah, it feels like an attractive target,
Yeah,
even if we weren't
probably
able to
something
pull
we're
it
not
off today.
seeing.
You know,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. I think that should be doable. Yeah.
yep, cool.
All right, we'll leave it there.
Yep. Of course, we could write a macro.
Epic. This is what we should do.
Epic.
Spend the next 2 episodes, 3 episodes writing the macro. Yeah,
Yeah.
cool. All right. See you next time, guys.